everybody. This is Bradley Grunner with the Moss Macros podcast. I'm here with my pal Stu Yellen, and unfortunately, we're not with our pal Arash Rabar, classic physique IFBB pro, because he's afraid to leave his house because the Olympia is coming up, and
3 weeks.
Yes,
3 weeks.
You know how tight a prep is. You know that you go into hibernation mode. You know what hibernation mode is on the last weeks of a prep.
You know,
right?
I don't think I was ever as bad as some people are, but I understand. You know, you never you never want to not win a show and start thinking, oh, I shouldn't have gone out that one night. So, you know, we get it.
Exactly. Who knows what could come up when you're deterred from your plan outside your home when you're prepping, from eating and training and resting. So we're here on a summer night drinking some beers. It's very casual. We're going to handle this in a very fun manner. We got some crickets in the background.
We got a lot of crickets in the background. I don't know if the microphone's going to pick them up.
Yes, so we just decided to have it outside this time, and we're having some fun. And this is our first question and answer session, actually. We've got some feedback on the show, and we thank everybody who's listened so far and tuned in and subscribed to the channel. So let's just go and address the two topics we're going to cover tonight.
Well, we'll do one at a time.
We'll do one at a time, actually.
But, you know, here, let me just throw this out first. You know, people, you know, send us a lot of questions. So what we decided would be kind of fun was we came up with shirts, and we kind of put a tag out there on one of the forums that me and Brad have frequented for a long time, with the premise that if you submit a topic or a question and we use it, we'll send you a t-shirt. And the t-shirt is, you know, staying with the whole I guess Moss Macros theme here. It has the Moss Macros Bandito on it.
Yes.
And if you haven't seen it yet, it's pretty funny.
Yes.
And you know, again, we use your topic, we use your question. We're going to send you a shirt. You know, you could submit it to us on Facebook, Instagram, on any of the forums that you see us on. If you want to go to mossmacros.com, there's like a contact email there. Just make sure we get a mailing address, and this should be pretty good. All right, Brad, are you ready?
Yes, let's go to the first one. Topic. The first topic that
should I read the whole question?
Yeah, read the whole topic.
I'll read,
by our friend Lonnie Ducote, yes.
Okay, Lonnie Ducote, Lonnie123 on T-Nation, for anyone
Yes.
who knows. Okay, this is pretty good. I'd be interested to hear how all of you guys have evolved your training as your lives have gotten more challenging and you are post-competitive now. Now, you know, obviously Arash isn't post-competitive, but, you know, me and Brad, you know, I've been, I guess, technically retired for a few years now. You know, Brad has had a little life changes here, which have, you know, put everything on the sidelines. How should we address this?
Well, we'll address it. I'll go first if you, that's fine. Okay, okay. Well, you have a longer streak of competing than I do. I had a very short stint in the AMBF. I earned an AMBF pro card. It was a very short stint because I started it later in life. And well, let's just go through it here. Now, you know, my life changed very drastically after competing in the AMBF for a short time, and I had my first son shortly after I did my show, and then I also got an injury during my prep. Not a debilitating injury, but an injury nonetheless that actually put a crimp in my training to a degree, and it also did not allow me to, well, I had the goal of competing more, meaning, like, let's say my kid did not arrive as soon as he did, I wanted to compete even more. But now that he is here and my injury's here, I had to go to physical therapy after my injury. I had to spend some time doing therapy before I could actually get to more standardized training. That changed things for a while because I was in physical therapy for 5 months and also seeing my physiatrist. I never had to go to an orthopedist because of my injury. My 2 herniated discs are not severe enough to cause dysfunction, but it also caused nerve pain nonetheless. So there were some corrective exercises or things that I have to watch out for in my training to rehabilitate and go forward with as least pain as possible until the pain from the herniated disc subsides. And as you know, Stu, pain from a herniated disc can take quite some time to relieve itself. We're not talking days or months. A herniated disc can take even years for symptoms to go away. So the way I modified my training is that I'm much more cautious in what I do. For example, the amount of, let's say, hip dominant exercises I do versus quad dominant exercises, or I do more stuff for my core. I'm much more conscientious about foam rolling, stretching, flexibility, even a massage once a month. And to tell you the truth, I am not gunning for breaking PRs at this point. At this point in life, I seriously just want to have decent cardiovascular shape. Let's say 3 or 4 days of weight training per week, usually 3 at this point. I do a push day, a pull day, a leg day, and the volume is moderate, and that's where I'm going right now. And as you know, Stu, with life priorities such as marriage and a kid, you start, I don't want to speak for you, but me, you start kind of missing workouts that you did not want to miss, but you have to miss nonetheless. It's not going to be this competitive mode where you could just pretty much tell the world to go to hell. I'm doing my own thing, and I'm going to hibernate and eat what I want to. I'm going to be no fun to be around, and it's going to be my way or the highway, and get the hell out of my face because I'm prepping for a show. It is not like that for me anymore. I'm involved in much more family events, social events. I mean, I can't turn down these events because I don't want to, and some of them are, I'll say, obligatory. There's no way of getting out of them if I want a sane marriage and a sane life. And that's really what I've done. And I've also, we've gone over frequency, volume, and what I do to rehabilitate and stay healthy. And that's really the changes I made. Have you made similar changes?
Well, I mean, when I first, I had a shoulder injury, and this is what really kind of, I'll say, made me step back. Obviously I wasn't sure if I was going to be done competing after the first surgery. I remember going to the gym, still going almost every day. Couldn't really do a lot of upper body stuff. Obviously no chest, no shoulders. I remember doing, 2 hamstring days a week, 2 quad days a week. I was still full-blown meathead at that point.
Yes.
I mean, I was, my God, my arm was in a sling, and I was like holding myself into like, my other arm into a single leg hamstring curl machine, headphones blaring Megadeth, grunting, spitting,
Yes.
Still drinking all my, workout drinks while I was there. I mean, it was like nothing changed. I was going to deal with this. Obviously, coming back off that kind of injury, certain things were off the table for a while. And again, if anyone's ever had a shoulder injury, that my God, that affects a lot. That could affect a lot of, obviously, your pressing work, shoulders and chest work. It could even affect a lot of your pulling work, which really made me, I'll say, think twice about, doing such heavy barbell rows like I really used to do. Your arm's still going through that plane, and you're still putting a lot of stress on that shoulder girdle. When the baby came, like Brad said, priorities shift a little bit. 7 days a week at the gym, not gonna happen. 4, maybe 5, that's awesome. If you can guarantee 3 or 4, you're happy. Do I do any cardio now? Not at all. Not at all.
Right.
Now, should I be? From a standpoint of a guy, getting a little older there, yeah, from a health point of view, totally should. But as a meathead, when you get to the gym, your priority is, I'm going to do some chest. I'm going to do some arms. I'm going to do some back. It's like your last priority is, I'm going to take today and do cardio. And again, dude, the rush is to get back to your family.
Yes.
I get up when I'm not at work, get up on a weekend. I try to get up as early as I can, get to the gym, knock out an hour and a half and get back, hopefully while everyone's still sleeping. Because, and I know I shouldn't, I still feel guilty. My son's sleeping, I want to spend time with him, but I still feel guilty. In terms of volume, obviously, let's dial it back a little bit. When you have something that's been repaired, I don't care how much they tell you you're 100% good to go, you worry a little bit. It's hard to always put everything out of mind, Exercises that you used to not worry about, that were only a problem if someone had a pre-existing issue, well, suddenly you start thinking twice a little bit, and you have to. It's not being stupid. It's not being a worrywart. It's being cautious. It's being smart. It's being realistic. And a lot of people don't do that. Like you were saying, Brad,
Yes.
with the warm-ups and the foam rollers.
Yes.
My God, I've got a warm-up routine. Holy crap, I can't believe what I go through, for
Right.
my back and for my shoulders. And, I do the rolling, and I do my hypers, and I do my reverse hypers. And this is even if I'm just going to do some arm work, I'm doing reverse hypers, make sure my lower back's in place here.
Right. You see, I wanted to expand on that also, that I glossed over that to a degree also, is that there had to be some alterations in training, meaning that I never got injured. I'm 38 years old. I've been physically active since I'm 12 years old. I never had an injury. In fact, I do not know what specifically caused my herniations, actually, in my L3, L4, and L4, L5. Actually, they're minor herniations, but the neuropathy, or what you could call it radiculopathy, nerve pain, was very severe during the winter, and it's now dissipated. It's slowly going away. My function is fine, but that pain was very uncomfortable, so I had to stay away. Even as I graduated from, let's say, banded or low resistance exercise, and visiting my physiatrist and also my great physical therapist, who happens to be Stu's brother, who's a former athlete and bodybuilder himself, who's very been useful considering his experience, is that I had to actually, first time in my life, to figure out what I can't do, and that had to stay away from compressive exercises. Now, I understand people have these marriages or attachments to what we call the big exercises. I mean, if you don't, some people have this notion that if you don't do the bigger exercises, you're not a bodybuilder. You're not a power, obviously those powerlifting involves the big exercises, but people have this notion that there shouldn't be a period of time, even for a powerlifter who's injured, or a guy who just loves strength training, getting strong, or even a bodybuilder, that, hey, wait, I got to take a step back here. Maybe not even take a step back, or find exercises that are just as useful, but not as compressive on my body, meaning that I had to stay away from highly compressive exercises such as back squats, regular deadlifts, or even a heavy hip hinge exercises such as stiff leg deadlift, bent over barbell row. Stay away from them for a while. Now I can do them, actually. I can do a back squat now. I can do a barbell row, a stiff leg deadlift, which I graduated to. But I had to stay away from those exercises for a while and rely more on lunges, goblet squats, front squats, a dumbbell deadlift, all sorts of lunges, weighted carries like a farmer's walk, even perhaps maybe, let's say, a suitcase hold, other exercises that would really work on my core but not be compressive on my body, until I actually got to graduate to them and earn the right to do them again, so to speak. And I actually do cardio fairly regularly on my lunch breaks. I do take very brisk walks for 30 to 45 minutes on my lunch break. I do jog here and there. I love handball. That's always been a staple in my life since I'm a kid. I haven't gotten to do that this summer because I don't know, I don't see anybody playing at the sport at the park these days, but I would love to.
You work in Queens, man. Everyone's playing handball.
Well, yeah, I shouldn't walk into a handball court, but I would love to do it around here in Babylon, Long Island, but I don't see many people playing at parks as much as I did when I was younger. And also, aside from, let's say, being conscious about what I have to do, thank God I do not require surgery because my function is fine, despite my pain, which worries me sometimes. Let's go over the image issue because I'm not the most imposing guy around. I'm only 5'10", but I got a good deal of muscle. Maybe I lost some muscle since competing, but I still have more muscle than the average guy. And Stu, you are very big. For your height, you're very big when you were in your competitive days. Huge.
Thank you.
Now, also what happens here is that a lot of guys have an attachment to bodybuilding, even if they're not competing. I mean, that once you make this identity, and I'm going to be blunt here, people, most people in bodybuilding, it is image related, because you will see men who are not competing anymore, including IFBB pros, with a laundry list of injuries, and you know who I'm talking about, who are still working out in ways that they probably shouldn't, I believe. I mean, should Ronnie Coleman still be working out? And I'm not Ronnie Coleman. We're not Ronnie Coleman. I mean,
we love Ronnie Coleman.
I love him, exactly. Yeah. But should people really, with all this hardware in their body, or neuropathy, or other pathologies in their bodies, still be working out in the way they should, or let's say pushing the anabolics into middle age? Now,
I'm sorry. It makes me wonder. I mean,
yes.
All right, Ronnie Coleman. Let's talk about him for a sec.
Yes.
He had multiple surgeries,
yes.
Lost a ton of muscle. And now this is a guy who's defined by his physique.
Yes.
And this guy, Ronnie's got nothing to prove to anyone.
Yes.
He could look however he's going to look, and everyone would always love, Big Ron. Now, something I think about when Brad talks about body image, people being known for the thing.
Yes.
I remember reading, and this is a long time ago, Corey Everson did an interview, and this was long after she retired. And she said that she's able to maintain like 90% of the size she had while she was competing with just, 3 or 4 workouts a week. And it really makes me wonder, and obviously me and Brad talked about the injury angle a lot, the family angle, things like that, because it's a time issue, and obviously that makes a big, big difference for us. But, you know, if you've been competing for years, if you've built all that muscle, do you really need to go to the gym 2 hours a day, 7 days a week to maintain that? Do you? You know, and if you could get away with less and maintain 95% of that size, would you?
Right. Well, it takes less to maintain than it takes to build.
Completely.
Obviously. Yes.
But this is where, you know, you get into the whole mental thing. It's like,
Right.
I'm addicted to this.
Right.
And I think genuinely to reach that certain level, you have to enjoy it, or
Yes.
you're not going to hang in there as long as it takes.
Exactly. Now, but even for people that are not not competitive, or people that just love this, I see guys on the internet. They have attachments to even certain exercises. They have attachments to their image. Meaning, you and I know, again, no hostility here, nothing like that. We know a guy who was attached to his image. Know of a guy. We spoke to a guy through the internet who had a very serious attachment to his image. You know who I'm talking about, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Didn't compete,
Nope.
but was very addicted to this, obviously, and had a persona of being the big guy, right? Now, once you forget about bigness or the sheer mass of a person, which obviously is an identity to itself, you know, the big guy, you know, oh, who's that guy? Oh, the big guy, right? It's kind of like a signature almost, right? Now, my signature, I think, you know, people know me as, you know, friends, coworkers, like, oh, Brad, the guy who works out, oh, that guy who's into bodybuilding, or, you know, he's a dietitian, he's into nutrition, he's into fitness, you know. Now, to lose some of that identity, which I think I'm losing some of, I have to, due to what we said before, is kind of difficult for people, because you think to yourself, well, I have a family, I have a son, I have this, I have that. What am I gunning for this identity for at this point? This is not really, in the grand scheme of things, that important if someone says that I have muscle or not, right? You know, I even have an attachment myself. You know, I'm trying to say that's hard to drop, because also you don't want to get the dad bod. You don't want to be sloppy like a lot of Americans are. I mean, my mom is in Europe right now. She says almost everybody she is not out of shape, and I have this fear of like becoming that sloppy dad who's out of shape.
Well, dude, that could be what keeps a lot of people unable to adjust. You know, the post-competitive thing. Like, okay, I've decided I'm not competing anymore. But I can't let go of this, or not even I can't let go. I don't want to say it that way. That sounds bad. But I'm afraid of really sliding backwards. You know, I don't know. I mean, look, obviously everyone's different. I think we covered on a lot of things pretty good with that. You want to move to the next question here?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fine. We'll go
all right. Move to the next question here.
Yes.
Lonnie, hope we touched on that. I'm sure we went all over the place. Me and Brad tend to do that a lot.
Yes.
You know, Brad's been drinking, so
Right,
I'm
but
sure we're everywhere.
we did address. I think we addressed it fairly.
I think we addressed it pretty good. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Next question from USMC CDS 423.
Yeah, that's Chris Simmons.
Is that Chris Simmons?
Yes.
Okay. I'm glad you got that. I didn't get the email. Okay.
Yes.
What are some of the worst bad habits people have when they hire you guys as trainers or for contest prep? How do you get them to break such bad habits, and how hard is it? Everyone thinks they know what they're doing, but I imagine you guys have a lot of WTF moments. Dude, that's an awesome question.
It is. Because I want to address this actually is because this also comes with a lot of beliefs, meaning that their habits come from their beliefs in many cases, meaning that beliefs like this, the beliefs influence the habit. For example, what are some of the common things we hear? I can't eat after a certain time. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. You have to have carbs. You gotta stuff yourself with carbs after a workout. Every other meal has to be
fruit will make you fat. Fish will thin your
fruit will
skin.
make you fat. Or that even a certain type of grain is better than the other. Meaning that, well, this is not really bad because even if you ate another item, it would still fit your macros or what you got to do. But like corn versus rice, or you know, a white potato is better to eat after a workout than a sweet potato. You know, these are habits. These are beliefs that form the habits. So these can become bad habits actually, because when you want to get the person from point A to point B, they're still latched into these habits and these beliefs, and sometimes they can't even break them until you have a serious talk with them.
Well, that's the thing, and we were talking about this earlier. We were picking which questions we were going to use tonight, and Brad was going on about something, and I said, well, Brad, you got to remember, no one intentionally does something that they know is wrong. All these bad habits, everyone thinks they're doing the right thing.
Right.
Everyone, and look, you know, Brad, you and I, we grew up reading Flex magazine.
Yes.
reading all these horrible diets and training programs, and what's Chris Cormier doing this month, and what's this guy doing, and you know, as you know, we went on and we learned, and you know, got degrees in certification, nutrition, and training, and competed ourselves and helped other people. We realized these guys don't know anything.
Yes.
You know, not that they don't know anything. Whatever they did worked for them.
Right.
But if you were to ask, well, how many calories were you eating? You
Yes.
know, how were you having high carbs, or were you having low carbs? Did you notice that your weight would go up after a high carb day? Were you retaining water? Like all the little things that you and I pay attention to, because, well, you know, we learned it's like, okay, let's pay attention to all the variables. Let's pay attention to the science. Let's not ignore something because it's coming from a guy in a lab coat, but let's, you know, kind of take it for what it is and see if it works. And again, there are a lot of people that you know, come to us. They send us their diet, and it's you know, all what you would think, what most people would call clean foods, but they have no idea what they're eating. I mean, no idea what they're eating. Right.
Now, also that even leads to, let's say, what we see a lot of the times also is that the bad habit of under-eating even. Meaning people are always in this mode of under-eating, meaning that they think that when you do a contest prep, you should immediately be suffering, meaning that they don't believe that there's this gradual lowering of calories and an increasing activity over time. Meaning the bad habit, I believe this is a bad habit. Mm-hmm. They want to get cut, so boom. They're already doing as much cardio as they can be doing. They can be doing, should they be doing it versus can they be doing it are two different things. Yes, you can do this amount of cardio out of the gate. You can subtract as many calories you want. You could starve yourself from the get out of the gate. That's a bad habit, actually.
Well, you need more cards to play as it goes on.
So when you, let's say, even if you write a diet for a guy who's a large guy, and you might even start off an obese guy or an overweight guy at 2,800 calories, or, you know, they'll think, well,
for example.
Yes, for example.
Yes, out, sure.
Yes, exactly. Well, I mean, they might say to you, they might turn around and say, wait, oh my God, this is so much food. How am I going to lose it with this much food? They're not understanding that it really isn't a lot of food, actually, when you think about it. For an active man or an active woman, these amounts that we prescribe are not that much, actually. And they're not understanding how long the diet's going to take, especially if you're unassisted, whether you're drug-free. But I think that even a drug-free person could take a lot of time also. I mean, we also hear about these guys who get in shape in 8 to 10 weeks. I don't know about that for a natural. Most naturals that I know of, including myself, took 4 to 5 months.
How much of that was suffering, though?
No, a lot of it wasn't suffering.
That's the point.
You might feel a little hungry midway, but really the suffering comes in, let's say, the last 6 weeks, or the last 6 to 8 weeks, maybe.
But the point is, you started off, and I'm you know, I don't mean to go back to, you know, Brad's prep, but it's like Brad was eating a lot of food.
Yes.
He wasn't doing a ton of cardio.
Yes.
We were seeing progress every week. When Brad showed up at that show, he was shredded. He had size. He had everything, and you know, he smashed it.
Right.
And again, it's because we realized it was like a long road to go. So I mean, you know, if we're going to throw out like, you know, the one worst habit is people are killing themselves from the get go, and it's, you know, not only is it not necessary, but it makes things more difficult in the long run.
Right. Now, they think that you should be low carb and low calories from the start. For example, if you tell them, okay, here's some suggestions: nuts, potatoes, rice, avocados, different healthy oils, peanut butter, egg yolks, right? They think that you can't eat that. You should be suffering. You shouldn't be eating fats when you are dieting. They also think you shouldn't be eating carbs. So you turn around and you say to them or ask them, then what are you going to eat then? What are you going to eat? And they believe that you should be on this protein-sparing modified fast of nothing but protein items and vegetables out of the gate. Now, what are you going to do with this 1,700 calorie diet? What is a 200-plus pound man going to do with 5 hours of cardio per week and 1,700 calories out of the gate? See, this is a bad habit formed by beliefs from the get-go. This is, I'm going to say, terrible. I don't know how you're going to live through a prep, or how a natural will retain his muscle mass or her muscle mass with these starvation habits. Yeah.
All right, well, let me jump onto something else here, okay?
Yes.
Let's talk about the cardio, okay?
Yes.
My God, I can't tell you how many clients, you know, that basically come to me and they're doing cardio every day, and we need a prep for a show, and the first thing I do is I say, okay, you're going to do cardio 2 days a week.
Yes.
And they flip out.
Yes.
You know, and it's like, look, we don't need all this.
Yes.
You know? I remember, you know, years ago, the example that was given to me was, and I hope I don't offend anyone with this, the fat aerobics instructor. You know, you got a woman, she's teaching 3-4 aerobics classes a day, and yet she's not ripped. And it's like, wait, wait, common knowledge, common information, she should be shredded. She's not. Why? You do low intensity work, your body adapts to it, you get less of an effect from it.
Yes.
Now, that's been proven. So why would you do low intensity cardio 7 days a week when you're not getting anything out of it and you're actually getting less from it? And it's like, it's ridiculous. So again, that there's another really, really bad habit, the excessive cardio. It kills me.
Right, exactly. And also restricting foods to only a small. I mean, would you consider this a habit? This belief. Well, the habit that stems from these beliefs that dairy is bad, fruit is bad, grains are bad.
Well, you know what? All right. Anytime you're going to eliminate, let's say, forget food types. Let's say, and I think Lane Norton said this. Any diet that eliminates one of the 3 macronutrients is a bad idea.
Yes.
It's a bad idea. There's a reason that your body needs all 3 of them. What was his name? Pulcinella? What was the guy's name? Mike, Dave? The one who had the video.
A few brothers, Dave Pulcinella or
Yeah.
Pulcinella. Yeah, I think that's his name. Yeah, exactly. Yes.
And I'm not saying anything
foods
bad.
guy,
Yeah, the 5 foods that work. Look, I've done preps where I've limited my foods because it's easy from a shopping, preparation, carry it with you standpoint. For no other reason than that. Okay? Any food you want can be worked into a diet. I've worked with NPC bikini clients that need to have their Hershey chocolate every day. I've worked with clients that need to get their lunch and an afternoon snack every day from Chipotle. I've worked with people that need to have sushi a couple nights a week. You can work anything into a diet. The idea of, I can't have this, is ridiculous.
Yes.
The idea of dairy, my God, I've had dairy in every single prep that I've ever done.
Yes.
Now, if you actually have a food allergy, that's completely different than some unfounded belief that dairy is going to ruin your condition.
Yes, exactly. And people have that certain belief with certain grains. People believe that corn is bad. People believe that you can't. This question I've seen on the net probably 100 times. I'm not exaggerating. Can you have fruit on a prep? How many?
Dude, I think I just answered that like 2 days ago. Again,
yes,
for like the 100th time.
This question is all over the message boards, all over Facebook. I don't know what people think about physiology. People will say something like, well, you can't have fruit because of the sugar. But they'll say yes to oatmeal, they'll say yes to rice, and they'll say yes to a potato. And then they go over the whole notion that, well, the fructose is stored in the liver and it gets metabolized through a different pathway. People, it'll get used for energy one way or the other. It doesn't matter whether you
convert it to glucose anyway.
Exactly. No matter, it's going through the liver, the muscle. It doesn't matter. It's going to be used as energy. I had on my prep sometimes on my high days up to 4 servings of fruit per day on a high day, and usually it was 2 or 3 fruits per day every day.
Crazy. You'll never get ripped.
Yes, and that was also the big no-nos: dried fruit like raisins and craisins and bananas. And whatever fruit I really wanted. Apples.
And dairy, and nuts,
yes.
and beef jerky. I had to eat and everything.
Exactly. Beef jerky, Pop-Tarts. Not that I would abuse...
you got to have the Pop-Tarts.
Yes, I had a Pop-Tart here and there for a high-carb day, but mostly it was, the healthy fats like avocados, nuts, peanut butter, the grains like, potatoes, rice, corn. Well, the potatoes not ever green. Starchy, tuber type of thing. But, yeah, I had a variety of foods. So... Other bad habits you see, I especially see, and I'm not going to be sexist here, I see these bad habits and beliefs much more strongly with women. Do you notice that?
That's interesting. I don't know. Like I've always said, my female clients are tougher than my men a lot. Okay. But I mean, the habits, I think a lot of them come from reading those horrible female-geared fitness magazines.
Right. But
my wife gets those like sent to the house free, and honestly, it's some of the worst advice I've ever read.
Right, but even in my profession, even, working in healthcare as a dietitian, even with people that are not competing, women that have no intention of going to the gym regularly, I've seen them attach a number. And John Berardi was talking about this in actually a newsletter today, an e-newsletter, that there's even this belief attached to a number, meaning that I get fed over 1,200 calories. I can't eat over 1,200 calories. A woman needs 1,200 calories to get right, meaning that there's no basis for it. You and I, we use, let's say, a relative basis, meaning, for example, okay, we'll start you out on 12 to 15 calories per day, depending on its medium, low, or high. They'll just throw the arbitrary number, meaning no matter what they weigh, 1,200, 1,500.
It's horrible.
I've seen this. Yeah. Have you seen that?
I've seen coaches do it. It's horrible.
with the arbitrary number where it's not based off of body
You can't do that. You got to do weight. You got to do structure. You got to do activity level. It's like there's variables involved.
Now, also, do you see any bad training habits? People come to you with a bad training habit, or a training method that they come to you with. Like, for example, I've seen a lot of people on the message boards today. I've never experienced it with a client per se, because most people who have bodybuilding aspirations actually believe, rightly so, that a body part split or a bro split is just fine for bodybuilding. However, there are some people out there these days who have the habit of thinking that any type of split or workout can lead you to the muscle mass or proportion that a bodybuilder can. Have you experienced that?
I experience that every week. And I hate to say it, but it's usually someone that doesn't have a decent physique.
Well, have you ever got a client coming to you saying, well, I'm doing an upper-lower split, I'm doing a body part split? Those are not bad habits per se.
No, they're not bad habits.
But they're not going to lead you...
Well, I mean, look, as a coach, you obviously want to recommend the best possible, either training or eating or resting or, any advice you can for your clients. You want them to get the optimal results with the minimal effort. I mean, that's regardless of what area. People get stuff in their head. People get, what the flavor of the month is. People get what their latest, guru, fitness author, whatever's making the rounds on social media is telling them.
Right. Now, also, let me ask you, because you have more experience than I do. Have you ever had anybody come to you, let's say an NPC competitor, and they're in a league that's unassisted, playing field that's, not unassisted, where there's assistance allowed. Mm-hmm. Have they ever come to you and, even though you're natural, or have been natural, I mean, we're not drug experts, but obviously drugs is a big part of NPC and IBB bodybuilding. Have you ever someone come to you where they're relying on drugs too much, or...
I guess I've worked with a lot of NPC competitors, and while I don't claim to be an expert at all, I always ask, you got to be honest with me about everything.
Yes.
I think a lot of people, and this isn't, me talking just as a coach, but just, being in gyms over the years, I've seen a lot of people that I think rely too much on the magic of, little performance enhancements, and, they don't put the time in terms of training. They don't put the effort in terms of diet. And I mean, look, there's a reason why the elite of the elite, are the elite of the elite, because they put effort into everything. It's not just the drugs,
Right.
And there's too many people in gyms, really, all across the country, and on amateur NPC stages that, they could be better if they understood the balance of everything. Some of the best IFBB pros that I've seen were guys that, I'm not going to drop names, that were natural pros first. They learned how to do it. They learned how to do the nutrition. They learned how to train. They understood their body. And then they took the step. And that's... I don't say that's smart, but that's having proper perspective, I'll say.
Yeah, taking the proper steps. Rather than going guns blazing from the start and using assistance without developing, let's say, a base or, understanding how to do things before they take that extra step, actually, which comes with some risk. I would assume that if you're going to take that risk, you should really look at all the variables, training and diet and drugs into perspective before going with the drugs out of the gate. Now,
here's another good habit. When I was competing, if I had to go out for any reason, I already had numbers in my head. I already had, if I end up at a diner, I could eat X, Y, or I could eat Z. I always had a plan if I was going out. And there were times where I actually, had food hidden in my jackets and things like that. People need to understand that if you're going to eyeball things, if you're going to wing it, you can't be upset when things don't work out.
Right.
Okay? And I know I've repeated this story before, but there's that old Dorian Yates story where when he was at the height of competing and Flex Wheeler, called him up and he was having trouble duplicating his condition from the year before. And Dorian said, well, what'd you do last year? What were your numbers like? And Flex had no clue. And Dorian's like, if you didn't know what you did, then how do you know, what you can change, how to repeat it? And that's the thing. It's like when I went into competing and I had heard that story long before that, I knew, all right, we're going to track everything. We're going to be as analytical as we can. We're going to do the footwork. We're going to carry a notebook with us. So before everyone was logging everything on, was it my Fit Pal, whatever the hell it is, I was going to be accountable. People that don't want to weigh their food, okay. People that don't want to plan if they're going to go out, well, I'll find something to eat. You know what? If you come in half-assed, the results you get are going to be half-assed.
Right. Now, that goes into something else, actually. I'm going to come into this, which relates to what you just said. Do you think that some people... Now, this is more belief-based than it is habit-related. Do sometimes, I believe, I've had this experience with people, helping people, is that they underestimate just how difficult a prep is or how involved it's going to be.
Well, I mean, I think that's a lot of people. You know, there's the old saying, don't enter a bodybuilding contest if you've never actually been in the audience at one. You know?
Right.
I mean, all right. You and I see a lot of people on social media getting ready for their shows, talking about, I'm coming down too fast, I'm eating more now, or I'm looking better than I did last year.
Yes.
And, you know, there's a certain amount of delusion because it's like, look, someone your height should weigh more, should be ripped more, should be this, should be that, should be 2 months ahead of where you are now. And it's, look, in your head, if you're happy, that's great. But if you hire a coach, and a coach is going to hold you to a certain standard. When we got you ready for your last show, you know, I promised you, I'm going to hold you to the same standard I would hold myself. And when you got on stage, when you look at those photos, God damn it, man, you blew everyone out of the freaking water.
Yes.
There was no question.
Yeah.
There was no question. Now, I'm never going to lie to you, but if you're going to fight me, like, well, I think I'm looking great. No, you still got to lose another 10 pounds. What the heck? You know what? Then don't do it.
Right, and exactly. And I don't want to veer too far off topic, but I believe that also the people who have that notion that it could be easier than it is, I think that they don't have the exposure to bodybuilding, like you said.
You know what? I think that's huge.
Yes.
I think that's huge, and I'll say this out there. You know, there's a lot of, especially around the natty side of things, there's a lot of tiny federations out there. And if you're just going to do like a tiny federation and not see what's out there, then you really don't know what's going on in the sport. Because there are some scary, scary dudes out there.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And it's not a matter of I look great in my freaking underwear and all my friends say I'm jacked and I should win. No, if you really want to enter the competitive side of things, go see what's out there.
Right. I mean, even if you're not going to look at natural bodybuilding, I think that you and I, we understood the standard of bodybuilding because we've been like bodybuilding fans since our teenage years, and we didn't even know what natural bodybuilding was before we looked at the Muscle and Fitness and Flex magazines or Muscle Mag. And seeing people that were in really scary shape back in those days. I mean, even people that were, let's say, 10th at the Olympia, like my idol, who no one ever mentions.
You always mention him.
Hamdullah Akutlu. If you want to see what bodybuilding condition should be, go look up Hamdullah Akutlu. You can misspell the name; it'll come out in a Google search anyway. Okay, that's a man. Or no, forget it. Oh, look at Rich Gaspari, right? Look at Dorian Yates, right? Mm-hmm. When you look at these people, look at Dennis Newman. If you want to see what a ripped person should be like, go look at them. Or someone like Brian Whitaker, who's natural. Okay, then you will understand just how involved this is going to be. That will help you put in perspective just how long your diet should be and what's going to be involved in the amount of sacrifice or how you're going to feel on this contest prep. So you will develop habits that will be. I think that also. Would you think it's psychological? I mean that I think the habits also. This has to do more with reinforcing good habits versus sticking with bad habits. Meaning that if you think about it in your gut, how badly you want to be in that condition, you will develop the good habit. Don't you think so?
Well, if you want it badly enough, I mean, look. When I work with someone, my God, they get. I check up on them. I send them ridiculous text messages during the week, and eventually, I'll watch as someone who's like so mild mannered goes, from being mild mannered to just like, blood hungry, like, and it's not always just the I'm going to beat everyone. It's the people are going to be, so impressed and so scared, and oh my God, look at him, and it becomes more important to you as you go on.
Yes, that's what happened to me exactly.
And I think that's important, and that, like you said, it supports the habits, and contest prep ends, and you can't imagine doing anything else. You can't imagine going back to doing a half-assed anything.
Yes, it becomes like that. Like the workouts become more and more like do or die.
Yeah.
Like where you think like, was that set all I could have given it? Which I guess you could borderline, kind of go on to the point of hurting yourself, but that's what part of part of competing, obviously, wouldn't you say, is walking that fine line between destroying yourself and getting enough work?
Well, it's definitely, you know what I always tell you. It's like, you know, you can't compete if you're hurt. You can't compete if you're dead.
Yes, exactly. So you got to watch that line, even if you are trying very hard. There's that fine line between progressing and also destroying yourself. So
you find it with time. Man.
Exactly, but that just goes into the habit, because if you want something bad enough, like even I tell people, let's say for general weight loss in my profession, or just dealing with someone who's obese, who doesn't want to be a bodybuilder, wants to lose weight. If you want to lose the weight bad enough, whether it's for a show or just to look better or improve your health, you will do it. I mean, most people, I believe, and there's another topic, and we have to put this to an end soon. It goes with, if you want to do it, if you want the result, you will develop the habit. I believe the people who don't develop the good habits...
if you learn the right habit.
If you learn the right habit,
that's
exactly,
important.
yes.
Remember, like what we said before, people honestly don't know they're doing the stuff wrong.
Exactly.
And that's you know, hopefully they figure out stuff, or they find someone to teach them, or something like that.
Exactly. And could you think of any other... I think we touched upon...
No, I think we did a great job here.
Yes, we
have. I think those were two very, very good topics.
Right.
What, Lonnie and Chris, you guys, you're going to have your T-shirts in the mail?
Yes.
You know, this is going to be good. You know, if anyone else, a couple people have asked us just about buying those T-shirts. You know, originally we thought about just doing these as promotional stuff, but you know, if you're interested, you can go to the website monstermacros.com. I think we're going to sell them for like $10, which basically just going to cover the cost of the shirt, the mailing envelope,
yes, exactly,
and the postage. So we're not making a cent on this, but if you're interested, we can do that too.
I hope you learned something. I hope we answered Lonnie and Chris's inquiries in the best way that we can, and we'll catch you next time.
All right. Hopefully this was entertaining. Like I said,
yes.
Brad's been drinking, so
okay,
have a good night.
Okay.